now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. One of my viewers wanted me to discuss a subject that I am quite hesitant to get into. Now, this subject has to do with dating coaches versus passport bros versus travel bros and your Sysbm. And each of these groups is not one I'm really eager to get and talk about after having to deal with all of the firestorm of controversy I had to deal with the whole passport narrative of 2019. So I'm only making this video for the viewer that requested it, and I'm making my observations regarding each of these groups as related to the request of the viewer. Now, when these dating coaches, passport bros, travel bros, and Sysbm, they all are just different ideologies, and each of these ideologies have been formed due to the fact that many black men have such trouble having relationships with black women. And because many of the black males in these groups has issues with American black women and have a hard time having relationships with American black women, what they do are looking for an alternative to having a relationship with an American black woman. And what many in these groups want to do is they're looking for a gimmick that will allow them a guaranteed way to have a relationship with a woman. And what they want to do is be able to apply this approach with each and every woman that they get involved with in outside groups outside of the black community. Now, the first group that's out here that is the dating coaches, and what the dating coaches want to do is they want to go out here and sell some gimmick to an unsuspecting black man, hoping to sell him on a guaranteed and foolproof way to go out here and get attention from women. So the dating coach basically wants to go out here and get money out of naive and unsuspecting black men, and what they want to do is get that money by trying to sell them a guaranteed foolproof way to go out here and have relationships with women. Now, I go in depth on dating coaches in a chapter of my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, and what the dating coach, again, is doing is hustling many of these guys. But when you take a critical examination of many of the dating coaches, they don't have the results. This is something I learned from Black Male Advice TV, aka Ringo, who made the point that if a dating coach had results, he would have a wife that he is married to, and that would be showing you the foolproof way that things worked out for him. But many of the dating coaches are single, so many of your dating coaches out here, they're just out here looking for gullible simps and cyber simps, looking to try to go and get their cash by selling them approaches that they probably got from internet websites or little tricks that they got from pickup artists. And a lot of the dating coaches are basically pickup artists who just basically want to sell somebody something. So the dating coach is a guy who's looking to take advantage of many of those black men looking for an alternative way to find an alternative group to black women. So that's the first group that's out here as related to these jockeying ideologies. Now, the next group that's out here are the passport bros, and I've basically shaken the dust off my feet and walked away from these individuals because they are a group that are out here thinking that their approaches to going out here to get women are going to get them better women than here in America. Now, the passport bro thinks that if he goes out here and leaves the United States, he will go out here and find a more submissive and cooperative woman. However, many passport bros don't understand is that as they're sitting there bragging on the internet, many of the same women in those countries are watching them, and they basically see this guy as another simp they can take advantage of. And what these female chameleons do is that they go out here and put on an act for this guy, and as they're putting on an act for that guy, what they're doing is telling the black man what he wants to hear, and as they're telling him what he wants to hear, they're getting money out of his pocket because American money has more value than their own money. So you have the passport bros, they're looking for an alternative to the difficult and uncooperative black women, but what they run into in these foreign countries are female chameleons who basically are looking to get some quick cash out of a black man by whispering sweet nothings into his ear. Unfortunately, you can't tell the black man that he's being taken advantage of because he's so spellbound and caught up in the idea of getting with a woman outside of his race, and he thinks that because he's getting the attention of a foreign woman, he's in a better place. However, because he doesn't do any critical thinking regarding foreign women, he never asks the critical question, why aren't the men in that community going out here looking to wife that woman up? Because if this woman was so much better than the other women in the country, you would think she would be the first pick for being a wife. Unfortunately, many of the black men out here, they get spellbound by seeing a woman of another race, and seeing a woman of another race pay them attention. So what they do is they stop looking at the content of her character and get caught up in the color of her skin. And because they get caught up in the color of her skin, your passport bro is thinking, oh, I'm getting a better deal, when all he's getting is the same ratchet female in a completely different color. So you have another ideology that's out here based on the black man's low self-esteem and his attempt to try to prove that he can get a better woman than the American black woman. But again, in some cases, when it comes down to these females in these foreign lands, oftentimes these women already know what the black man is, and some of these women are basically playing the black man, because they're out here, they've already got a husband, they've got a boyfriend, and sometimes the husband and the boyfriend is putting them up to go get with the black man so that they can go get some quick cash out of the black man. Now, your travel bro is like your passport bro. He's going overseas looking for opportunities at a relationship with women. And again, like the passport bro, he's looking for a more submissive and cooperative woman, unlike the black woman. So they're going out here, traveling to different countries abroad, looking and hoping to find another woman who will treat them better than the black woman. And what they find is that the women while they put on the facade, after a couple of months, you eventually get the same type of woman as the Western woman. Now, the next group that the viewer wanted me to talk about was the group called Sysbm. Now, Sysbm stands for Save Yourself, Black Men, and these black men want to call themselves like leaving the black community, and like the divestors, the black women who want to leave the black community to get involved with white men, what the Sysbm black man wants to do is he wants to walk away from the community of black women, and he wants to go out here and get involved with the American white woman. Now, the Sysbm black man thinks that by abandoning the black community, he's going to be able to save himself from the ratchet black woman and the pookie and the ray-ray. But like the divesting black woman, the Sysbm black man oftentimes hops over the fence and into a pile of spikes like a Mortal Kombat fatality. Now, the Sysbm BM black man winds up in a death trap, because what happens to the SYSBM black man is that while he's trying to run away from the ratchet black woman and Pookie and Ray Ray, what he does when he gets involved with the white or the non-black female is he runs into white supremacy. And a textbook example of what happens to an SYSBM black man is the late Christian Obumseli. Now, the late Christian Obumseli was an African immigrant who went out here and denounced foundational black Americans, and he went out here, got himself one of these white American girls, and decided to live with her. And what happened to Christian Obumseli was, once he abandoned his black family and his black community, he was at the mercy of that white female, and that white female was participating in domestic violence and practically beating him up every day. And things got so hot that Christian Obumseli wound up dead. Now, your Christian Obumseli, there was nobody to save him from white supremacy, and he was basically at the mercy of this white female. And that white female basically almost got away with murdering Christian Obumseli after they had done an investigation. They had basically in the beginning taken her word, and this would have been Christian Obumseli's fate. His murder would have been written off as just a domestic violence, and she would have basically gotten off if the evidence had not been there. And that was something that the save yourself black man doesn't really think about as related to so-called divesting from black women to go into these communities with these white females. You are at the mercy of that female, and that female, because she is supported by the white supremacist system, her word is taken over yours, and anything that she says is true. And what happens to many of these individuals who are a part of SYSBM is that they don't understand there will be nobody in the black community to save you from white supremacy. There will be nobody to save you from white racists. You will be at their mercy. And the same thing goes for many of those guys who are the so-called passport bros and the travel bros. When you walk into another man's land, you are doing things on their terms. Now, this brings me back to a talking point many of the SYSBM men have. They're thinking that they can go out here and build in another man's land, but the whole thing is, when you step into another man's land, like the brother of Logic and Common Sense said in one of his classic videos, these men get very territorial. And they get extremely territorial about their women, and they also get territorial about their business and their infrastructure. And they do not like the idea of somebody who is considered to be the bottom of the world coming in and trying to top them. So this is something many of these individuals don't really think about, because they get so in their feelings about their ideologies that they don't think critically about their health and safety. But when you look at all of these ideologies, the dating coach is basically a hustler trying to sell people on an ideology, and the ideologies of the passport bro, the travel bro, and the SYSBM man, they all come from one place, and that one place is black male hurt. Now, a lot of black males are deeply hurting, and the reason why they're deeply hurting is because they have suffered a lot of trauma as related to their relationships with the mother in their lives, and because the mother in their lives was extremely hostile, extremely domineering, and in some cases abusive, that starts the foundation for their issues with black women. Because when the first black woman in your life is cruel, it's hard for you to be able to love a black woman. And that trauma is exacerbated when a black man starts to have his first experiences with black women, and those experiences are negative because they run into black women who are hostile, black women who are abusive, black women who are cruel. But you have to understand all of this hurt comes from the way that that black female was raised in a single mother household, but just like the one the black man came out of. Now, I go in depth on this in my book, The Woman Crisis, and talk about why your females from homes that were under feminism led to a lot of girls becoming defensive and just being unable to connect with a man. Now, many of the black men out here, they're sitting there thinking, oh, I need to get away from this black woman and I'll go to another group of women. But you're going to have the same problems with other groups of women because the problem doesn't come from the women. No, the problem starts with the man, and it starts with the way that man was raised in a home, because the problem is many of the black men out here, they have not really dealt with a lot of the trauma as related to the relationships with their mothers, or the trauma that they had dealing with rejection from girls in adolescence, or dealing with the trauma of a failed relationship, because these men have not resolved the issues as related to their past relationships. What they do is bottle up the trauma and then hope to go move to another group of people, hoping that things will change. But nothing is going to change because like attracts like, and until a man goes out here and works on his issues, he's going to be having the same problems even if he goes into a completely different space. Because the common denominator for why this man is having problems is that man, and that's the main reason why that man is having problems is him, because he has not gone out here and worked on his issues. So you'll have a guy who has not worked on his traumas in the past with his mother or his girlfriend, and he'll talk about going to a dating coach. But the problem is that he's just going to learn techniques that will attract him to the exact same woman, and what's going to happen is he's going to wind up with the exact same woman because he has not gone out here and worked on himself, and he has not worked to change the energy, to change who he's attracted to. Because the big problem with many of the black men out here is they're not looking at why these people are attracted to you. And if you are hurting, you're going to attract hurting people, or worse, you're going to attract predators to you, because people are going to see the vulnerabilities that you have and they're going to look to take advantage of you. So you'll have these guys, they'll go out here and they'll either go to the dating coach, and the dating coach will just send them to go find the same woman over again, because it's all a pickup game for them, and all they want to do is pick up the fast money. And what will happen is some of these guys, they'll go and get their passport to go overseas to get with the so-called better foreign woman, but what they will do is attract the same type of ratchet females, just like they were dealing with at the red and white chicken place on their block. And then you'll have guys who will travel to different countries looking for relationships with women, and what they will do is again travel to different countries and go and get the same type of female, just like the ratchet females at the red and white chicken place. And then you will have the self-hating Sysbm black man who is looking to flee the black woman and is coming from a position of weakness and thinks that, oh, I'm going to go to somebody else's community and go get with their white and non-black women. But he's again going to fall into the same trap, getting with the same white and non-black women who are hanging out at the 7-Eleven, and all he's doing is going from the red and white chicken place in the hood to dealing with this white and non-black females from at the El Valle restaurant or the ones at the 7-Eleven. And as he's trying to mac a chick and trying to buy her a Slurpee, all he's doing is trading Monifa for Becky, and he's dealing with the same hood rat, but in a different color. And because he's spellbound by those crystal blue eyes and that creamy white skin, he doesn't see that he's getting the same woman who is dropping the same skid mark thong, and he's dealing with the same female in a different color. Same thing for the traveling and the passport, bro. All he's doing is trading in Monifa, who was wearing the leggings and the t-shirt, for the girl in the grass skirt. She's dropping the skid marked grass skirt. Or you're dealing with the foreign woman in the other country, and she's dropping the skid marks wrong, and it's just getting atomic waste in a different color. But you can't explain that because men are caught up in ideologies, and these ideologies are nothing but gimmicks, and these gimmicks are just something that they're using to go out here and try to get an easy woman, because many of these men don't want to raise their standards and they don't want to step up and improve themselves. So what they're looking for is an easy gimmick that will give them a guarantee of getting their taste of the atomic waste and get them access to the easiest women. Unfortunately, all of these ideologies come from the same place of hurt. And the problem is, if the black man doesn't want to deal with the hurt that is leading him to run away from the black community, because he's afraid of standing up to the one woman who caused all of the trauma in his life, which is his mother. So you have a lot of black men out here. They sit there and want to talk about how one ideology is different from the other, but the foundation for all of these ideologies is fear. The dating coaches capitalize on the fear of the black man as related to his poor social skills, and then you have other guys pushing gimmicks like the passports or traveling or going out here and leaving the community like Sysbm, and all of them come out of a fear and trauma that some black men have regarding their mothers and the black women in their community. Because all of these guys, they are following an ideology and they're not taking the lead. And many of these guys are running away in fear, saying, oh, there's no way you can deal with this black woman. And again, coming from that approach, you're coming from a position of weakness, and each of these ideologies comes from a position of weakness. It is saying, oh, we cannot go out here and lead like men, so we all have to go out here and run away from the black woman. And that just makes people look at you as somebody weak, because when you're coming from a position of weakness and you're saying things like the Sysbm black man and the passport man say, what they're saying is, oh, my black woman is out of control, so I'm coming to your community to go get with your woman. Do you really hear yourself when you say these kinds of things? It says to men all over the world, you're a weak man who cannot control the women in your community, and that tells those men in those communities that we need to just stand up to you, because you're a threat to our community, because you're going to be a weak link that does damage to our community. And again, with these men being territorial, they're going to look to protect their community because they see a black man talking this Sysbm and passport stuff as a threat to their overall collective, because if they let that man in, he's going to go do damage, because he's the first one who's going to rat on people. He's the first one that's going to flip on people, and he's a threat to their economic and political system. So when they listen to this guy say he cannot control his woman, and he's saying this with confidence, and he's thinking it's a positive thing, but when men in other communities hear a man talking like that, they see that man as weak, they see that man as pathetic, they see that man as nobody they respect, because if a man can't get his woman in order, then they can't trust that man to go out here and be a part of their order. One of the worst things a man could say is, I can't deal with my own woman, because if he cannot get his subordinate under God's natural order in order, then everybody's going to see him as a weak man. And black males, they don't really understand that these ideologies, again, that they come from positions of weakness. And these ideologies, while people want to debate which one is better, all of them are complete failures because they come from a position of weakness. Whenever you have a group of men saying, oh, I can't control my woman, I can't control the women in my community, the women in my community are out of line, that is an indicator to them that you cannot be a leader, you're not a protector, and you're so weak, you're just easily conquered. So a lot of these men, they don't understand that these ideologies are toxic, and there's no debate that any of them are better than the other because they all come from the place of dysfunction. So I know that this is very, very rough area, and I really didn't want to go out here and make this video, but I did it for the viewer because I don't want to stir up all of those individuals in that passport group, because those individuals, and they just are, troubled individuals, and I don't want to keep going into a back and forth with them. I've already buried all that stuff from 2019, but the viewer wanted to know what the difference was between your dating coaches, your passport bros, your travel bros, and your Sysbm, but there is no real difference between them because they're all different levels of the same dysfunction, and that dysfunction is black men being afraid of black women and black men not standing up to black women. And because they are too afraid to stand up to the black woman, what they want to do is find a way to get away from this black woman and all of the toxic programming she's learned from white feminism, instead of learning how to stand up to this black woman. Because if they stood up to this black woman, then they wouldn't have any problems as related to her, and if they dealt with her, they would be able to be seen as men by the rest of the world. Now, I'm hoping that this answered the question for the viewer as related to dating coaches, passport bros, travel bros, and Sysbm, and I don't think I want to touch this subject ever again. And if you want to request a video, you can do so by donating to the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Hayes series, and the books of the Spencerella trilogy, or the men's issues books I mentioned in this video, such as Stop Simping in Cyberspace, or Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, The Man Crisis, or my upcoming book, The Woman Crisis, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Vampires Stalk the Darkness of the Eternal Night. Get your copy of Eternal Night in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com.